Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. Live from the den of Legacy Internet Radio. Thank y'all to everybody that's been listening to the show throughout the evening. We appreciate the support. Thank you to the folks on TuneIn and on Streamer and on www.legacyinternetradio.com for checking everything out that we're doing here on the flagship show, Legacy Internet Radio. If you ever want to get in with us, give us a call at 804-402-2893. At this time, I'm very happy and excited to bring to you guys a dynamic author and writer to our show. Looking forward to speaking with our sister, Shonda Pulliam. How you doing, Shonda?
I'm great, Marcus. How are you?
I'm doing outstanding. Thank you. First of all, thank you for taking a few minutes and joining us here on the show tonight. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So I always like to get into some fun stuff before we get into the heart of the matter, the business stuff. And I'd like to ask little ice-breaking questions. So first thing I'm going to ask you, you from East St. Louis, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
Are you a fan of any sports? Do you have any sports teams or anything out there that you follow religiously?
Dallas Mavericks, if you can.
Dallas Mavericks, really? Okay, now you have some explaining to do, right? You have a little bit of explaining to do to be from East St. Louis.
I know, but I love the Dallas Mavericks. I love Mark Cuban. I think he is very smart, and Dirk is one of my favorite players outside of Allen Iverson.
Allen Iverson. Well, Dirk is an outstanding player, one of the top 10 scorers in the history of National Basketball Association, and an NBA champion. And Mark Cuban, aside from George Steinbrenner, who, the late George Steinbrenner, who owned the Yankees, my team, Mark Cuban's probably one of my favorite owners in all of sports. So I think he made a good choice there.
I did.
You ever have a chance to go down there and check them out, or you just watch them on TV?
Just watch them on TV. I've seen Dirk play in Memphis. I've been to a couple of games there, so I have seen him play, and but I've never been to Dallas to see him.
It's only a matter of time. You got to put that on your bucket list. How about that?
Right.
You got it. Ain't no half step on Marcus. All right, Shonda, let's jump into what we got you on the line to talk about here tonight. So you're a writer. Tell us about it. What was it like when you first realized that you had something special and you wanted to be a writer? Talk to us.
Well, I've been writing for as long as I can remember. Even at school, I wanted to write. English was my favorite class. I would love to write like book reports or little poems and things like that. So it wasn't until I got a little older that I took it very seriously. I started off playing the flute, so I wanted to do music at first, never on the writing end, just playing. And then when I got older, I just started writing every day. Every day I would write something, some little poem, some little one-liner or something like that, and then I decided to write a book.
Started to write a book. I'm going to come back to that book for a minute. You still playing the flute?
I haven't played in a while, but I played for a very long time. Like, I read music, I can play by ear. I love the flute. Now I want to start playing the guitar. I practice a little bit, but I'm left-handed, so playing the guitar is kind of weird if you don't have a left-handed guitar, because you have to play it kind of upside down. So
right.
It's kind of confusing for right now.
Right. Well, you'll go back to it one day. Tell us about that first book that you wrote.
It's called In Between Love. It took me like a year and a half to write it, and I self-published it myself, so I did most of the editing and the artwork, and I worked with a publishing company to do the distribution. So it's on like Amazon.com, and I can order it directly from the publishing company. I'm very proud of it.
Yeah, it sounds like you definitely are. Can you tell us a little bit about what it's about, so you can give the listeners tonight just a little bit of a tease of what they'd be reading about In Between Love?
Well, In Between Love is a love story, and it's about a girl named Raven who has just gotten out of one relationship and doesn't really know if she wants to proceed with a different one.
Interesting. Love to see how it works out for Raven. Are you working on anything else behind that one?
Right now, I'm working on a children's story called A Summer with No Peaches. It's like a fantasy story, kind of like the Never Ending Story. It
Okay.
has a lot of graphic things like that. I'm trying to find an illustrator to kind of get some of the artwork together,
Right.
but it's going to be very interesting, a fantasy story.
Right. Right. Well, it sounds like you've got some diversity in your writings. You go from a love story to a children's book of fantasy. Tell me a little bit about the creative process. Is that something that you mentioned you've been writing a long time? Is that something that you've always had that skill, or are you just working to develop it now?
I've always kind of had a way where I can write different kind of things. It all depends on mostly what day of the week it is. Sometimes I can write poetry and it'll turn into music, or I can write a TV script, or I can write a book. I had to do a little research to learn how to do the TV script because it's a different type of writing.
Right.
And doing the fantasy writing, since I am so descriptive in my writing anyway, it was kind of easy to just switch it over from, romance to children's. You take some things out, you add some dragons, you add this and add that, so it kind of works itself out.
Right. No, I understand. That sounds fascinating. Now, you mentioned you've been writing a long time. Tell me about the first time you actually put something down, like your first poem. Do you remember it?
The first thing that I can remember writing is an "I Have a Dream" speech.
Really?
It was, Black History Month. We were studying Martin Luther King, and I wrote an "I Have a Dream" speech, and it was entered into a contest, and I won second place.
Get it, girl. Do you remember how old you were?
I was 12.
12 years old. Okay. Well, that's during the creative areas. My daughter's 14, so I know what it's like at that age, and that's when you're developing who you are and all of those great things. So I can only imagine how outstanding. Well, it came in second place, so I'm sure that it was outstanding. Ain't No Half Stepping with Marcus J, live from the Den, Legacy and Internet Radio. We're talking to our sister Shonda Pulliam. She's an author, she's a writer, she's a poet, and in addition to the poetry, you're also a contributing writer to myblackmatters.com. Tell us what that is.
Myblackmatters.com was, I got introduced to them through Twitter. And they asked me to write a piece about myself or something that I had learned or been through. So I actually taught them about me growing up as a Black woman with two girls and, kind of raising them on my own. So it was a very interesting piece. It was well received, and it got a lot of attention.
Tell me about it. What was it called?
Things I didn't know before I was 38.
Okay. Wow. I'm sure that was, filled with a whole lot of great stuff, because I could tell you at my age, I'm a little bit older than that, and the older I get, the less I realize I know. I thought I knew a whole lot when I was 17, and now in my early 40s, I realize how very little I do.
Right.
It is a thing that you get to, I guess, the wisdom of knowing that you don't have that much smart. So I always get a kick out of that, because I tell my child, as I'm sure you may mention to yours, as you get older, you learn how much you really don't know. Do you ever get a chance to interact with the readers? Do they communicate with you, or do you communicate with them?
Yes, I try to be very active. If someone on Twitter, contacts me and say, I purchased your book and I'm reading it, I kind of have interactions with them, ask them what chapter they on, what they think about it so far, they can ask me questions about, certain characters or whatever, and it's very interesting. Twitter is a very interactive kind of social media site. So right. I get to interact with a lot of people that way.
Right. No, I can imagine. Working in social media, it's a big part of what we do here at Legacy Internet Radio. So I can imagine we often get a chance to speak with our listeners. They call us, or, they send us inboxes, and I tell you, they'll let you know when they don't like something. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you may have experienced a little bit of that as well. I'm curious about the self-publishing. I want to go backwards a little bit. Tell us about what it was like to self-publish. You did that on your first book. I'm guessing that you just kind of had to learn as you went, or did you have some sort of idea what you were doing?
I really didn't. I had to research how the format of a book is supposed to be written also. So doing that research, going through a publishing company is really hard. Like if they haven't heard of you before, or, you're a new writer, it's hard to get in a major publishing company.
Right.
So I decided to do self-publishing. I researched that out. I found a self-publishing company. I had to pay a fee, but they did help me with a lot of the things. Like they had an editor who went behind me and did some editing or whatever. And like I said, I had input on my artwork, so the cover art for my book. And, they asked different things, and after I got it all together, they actually reached out to Amazon and got it put on Amazon.com. So that was that way, and I can still order books through their actual website. And so it took a while. It took almost as long for me to get it self-published than it did for me to write the book.
Right. Right.
But in the end, I think it's more rewarding. It's harder to be a self-published author. So, I try to tell people, support authors who are self-published, because it is a lot of work after the writing.
Right, right. Well, you have to. I mean, you're your own street team. If that makes sense, you have to
Yes.
do it all. So I can imagine.
Yes.
And
do your own promotion, do your own, all of that, getting the word out, getting the word out. And my book has been out for a couple of years now, but I'm still in that process of getting the word out and adding new readers to my, under the belt. And it's like, it's still rewarding even after all of this time.
Right. Well, do you find that your piece is it a timeless piece, or is it a piece that's set at a certain time, or is it set in current day with Raven?
It's a piece that you can read it at any time and be familiar with it, because it's about relationships.
Right.
And people go through relationship things all the time.
Right.
So if you a single parent, if you have been in a relationship and just got out of one, or trying to enter into a new relationship, it's all in there. Stuff about basketball, so men can read it, because there's a lot of things like that. It's written from both perspectives. So if a boy read it or if a man read it, he would still be like, oh, I can understand this. It's not, what people would call a girly kind of romance.
Right, right. No, I can dig that. That's definitely something that would be helpful, I guess, unisex, right? That way it's not one of those novels where you're cutting off half of the people that may potentially read it because it skews too far on one side. So I can definitely appreciate that. What do you do when you're not writing? I'm guessing that this takes up a large chunk of your time and of your life, but what do you do when you're not writing?
Most of the time I read, that's my favorite hobby. I have 2 granddaughters, so I love spending time with them. My 2 daughters, I have 2 daughters, so we just spending time with family. If I'm not writing or reading something, I'm either at work or spending time with my family.
Yeah, well, family is the key. And I definitely appreciate that, because, I'm a very family-oriented person myself. Now, let me ask you about the affiliation that you have with Some Unique Magazine. How did that happen? How did you end up affiliated with those great folks there?
Again, it was a social media thing. One of my friends was on it's like an entrepreneur page on Facebook, and Kenneth was looking for a writer, a contributing writer, and one of my friends tagged me in the post.
Right.
And I got in contact with him, and I sent him my piece I sent him a poem, one of my poems, and another piece, and he read them, and he was impressed, and he asked me to write something, so I wrote another. The first piece that I sent to him was Slavery Without a Whip. Ooh. And he edited and put it all out on Some Unique Magazine's website, and there we have it.
Yeah. Well, there you go. That that topic, just you heard my reaction. That topic just caught my attention. Say that topic one more time. Say it one more time for the
It's
listeners.
called Slavery Without a Whip.
Wow, slavery without a whip. Can you give us a tease what that's about, or should we just go and read it? How about we do that? How about we just go and read
You
it?
you can read it, but it's mostly about black families and how things in the media and things on television are always trying to tell us how we should be, and
Right.
it's like a different form of slavery without the whip. Like, you want to tell us how we should raise our families, and you should tell us that we can be independent as women on our own and not have men in the families or men in the homes, and that's just not true. That's what they did to us in slavery times. They wanted to take our protection and our provision away from us and tell us that we can do these things on our own and raise these children on our own when we really cannot. That's the discipline part of your family. That's the head, the spiritual leader of your family. And if you don't have that, you walking around a body without a head.
Right.
And these are the things that they keep trying to perpetuate to us. So our sons are out here and they have no guidance, and our daughters are out here and they have no leadership because they don't have that male figure there to say, this is how someone should treat you. This is how someone should love you. And tell their sons, this is how you're supposed to provide for your community, how you're supposed to provide for your family. So
No,
I thought it was a subject that we all needed to talk about.
No, I agree. Here at Legacy Internet Radio and on this show, Ain't No How Stepping with Marcus J in particular, we talk about socially conscious topics, and that piece is definitely something that I think that our listeners would get a lot out of. So I want to direct them to actually go and read it and support you and support
Thank you.
Absolutely, and support you and buy the book. So this is the part of the interview where you give us all the information on how we can find you and find your arts, your works, and everything that you're doing, so that we can support you. So this is where you give us all that information.
Okay, you can follow me on Twitter at Tennelle, Tennelle 333, and you can find me on Some Unique Magazine's website under Shonda Pulliam. There's where most of my poetry and different articles, or you can purchase the book on Amazon.com. If you go to In Between Love and put in my name, Shonda Tennelle Pulliam, it will pull up for you.
That's what it is. Ain't No How Stepping with Marcus J, live from the Den, Legacy Internet Radio. Shonda, it's been an absolute pleasure and an honor to talk to you, because you've got some outstanding things that you're doing, and very, very vibrant, and I got a lot out of speaking with you and learning about you and learning about the magazine and your works of art. And so I look forward to the folks who are listening to the sound of your and my voice right now. I encourage you all to go and check this sister out. She's dynamic. She's got a lot of great things, and you would be doing that as a favor to me. But also, we need to support people who look like us, people who think like us, people who are,
Yes.
In the fight and the struggle like us. And it's real life stuff. I mean, just going off of what you said about Raven and just, I didn't want you to give too much, and you gave us just enough, the whole relationship thing. I mean, it's some real stuff. And my guess is when we read the book, we're going to find that we're going to see elements of ourselves and our sister Raven in the book.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for having me. It has been an honor.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate you. Hold the line for just a moment. Ain't No How Stepping with Marcus J, live from the Den of Legacy Internet Radio. You're listening to the flagship show of Legacy Internet Radio. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we've got more of the show. You're listening to the flagship show, Legacy Internet Radio. You rock with us, we roll with y'all. Be back in a few. Stay with us.